Hey everybody, welcome to Bearcat Insider. I'm Chance Kirby with my co-host Travis Marsh, and we got a big interview for you today. Tell us what they can expect, Travis.
Yeah, we do. Now, in fairness, it's a long interview. I think after we had it all cut down, it's going to be almost an hour. But we were able to sit down and have a good conversation with Todd Southard, our high school principal, and kind of get a little bit of his opinion and his experience of what's going on with the coronavirus. And a little bit about the nuts and bolts of all that and the decisions that were made. What can we expect in the future? And learn a little bit about the man, the myth, the legend. And then also have a couple fun questions for him, get a couple fun answers from him, and we'll carry on from there. But it really is a good interview, and I hope that people have the patience to sit down and listen all the way to the end, because there's a lot of good information.
I hope they do too, because it closes out with a little controversy.
It does. We finish strong.
Yeah, we do.
At the expense of a fellow coach, but
yes.
People are going to have to listen if they want to know.
And then I want everybody to know this may be great news for them, but you're not going to hear a lot of me from this interview, because while we are podcasters, we are not broadcasters, and I forgot to hit record. So when I ask my questions, listen close. But like I said, that may be the best thing we've ever done, is people not to have to listen to me, because I have a face for radio and a voice for silent movies. So
well, there you
we'll go from there.
What's strike three?
Exactly.
But no, it really is good. And Mr. Southard, he did a fantastic job, and I really appreciate the time that he allowed us to go into his office and kind of pick his brain and things like that. So with no further ado, let's get on to the interview. Hey, this is Travis Marsh. I'm here with Chance Kirby for Bearcat Insider. We are sitting down in the office of the Bearcat King, Todd Southard.
I've been called lots of things, but Bearcat King ain't one of them.
And so
today, Russell's going to be upset.
Oh well, he'll be all right. So we're here today with Mr. Southard, and we're going to talk to him about the everything that's going on with this COVID Corona thing, and we're going to ask him some questions about him, which is probably his least favorite topic. And then we have some fun questions for him. And so we're going to get to that. Chance, thank you for coming to meet me up here. And Mr. Southard, thank you for your time. I know it's a weird time at the end of the year with all this junk going on, so we appreciate your time and taking a couple minutes to visit with us.
No, I appreciate you guys having me.
Whenever this whole COVID Corona thing came about, when did you first realize, like, man, this is coming to Pilot Point, Texas, and it is going to affect us?
So, it was funny. When it started hitting in Washington, right? And so we started having conversations about it, and we started saying, well, this is not going to happen. There's no way. And that was right before spring break.
Right.
And so I think it was over spring break. You hear it started building and growing and moving. And I think it was over spring break, all of a sudden you hear about one of the stock shows being canceled.
Houston.
It was Houston, right. And all of a sudden I go, holy smokes. I mean, you're talking about a lot of money right there. So if they're making the determination to cancel that thing, this is kind of getting serious. Yeah. And so that got my attention real quick. And so, it just... and after that, it's been downhill ever since. So
yeah, and then so with this whole crisis going on and the whole situation that we're in, when you look at it from your position of leadership, being the principal here at Pilot Point High School, what's the response been like from your students?
Kids have been great. I think really kids are a lot more resilient than what we think a lot of the times, and so the kids have been fantastic. I have actually gotten more emails from kids saying, hey, Mr. Southard, I really appreciate all the hard work you're doing. I appreciate, you're trying the best you can. Teachers are doing really well. And that means a lot to me. That tells me that, hey, we're doing something right.
Sure.
And it's not pretty and it's not perfect. But I think everybody recognizes the effort that everyone's given. And so, and that's really all we can do. I've told my teachers from the very beginning, as Travis, the important thing is communicate and just try to get through this as best we can.
Yeah.
And that's all you can do. I mean, we're talking about, this is unprecedented.
Sure.
None of us have ever gone through this before, and I certainly hope we never do again.
Please.
Yeah. So, it really boils down to is you just got to try. You got to do the best you can. Common sense always wins out.
Yeah.
Be fair and just do the best you can. And I'm so fortunate. I cannot imagine going through this situation and not having the staff that I have. You know what I mean? I have got such fantastic teachers and a great office staff that I don't really have to worry too much about them not doing what I need them to do. I know they're going to take care of the kids. I know they're going to do things right. So that is a huge issue off of my plate from the very beginning. Yeah. And so I can worry about the other stuff. So.
Well, and as your subordinate here, since I teach under you here at the school, I can say that your leadership through this has made it easy, because attitude reflects leadership. And so the attitude of the teachers and the students, I believe, is a direct reflection of you. And so your constant communication with us has made it easy to be a constant communicator with the kids and things like that. If you, going off script here, if you, your leadership style, your communication style, where'd you kind of pick that up? Was there a mentor that it popped out to you? Did you read a book, or were you just like, man, this is common sense, I should do it?
A little bit of everything. Okay. It is, I'm a huge John Maxwell fan. He has written a ton of books, 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, those sorts of things, and I've read every one of them. Okay. A lot of it is common sense. A lot of it is, I'm a very hands-off type of principal. Yes. I'm not a micromanager. Right. And the reason why I'm not is because I didn't want to be micromanaged as a teacher and coach. If you hire me to do the job, let me do it. Now, in the end, if you want to fire me, that's your right. Right. But you've hired me. And so I treat my teachers how I want to be treated. Okay. And the understanding here is, I hire you, you do the job to your best ability. If you don't, I fire you. And that's just the way it works. Yeah. But I think the good teachers, they love that. Yeah. They like it because they have the freedom to do whatever they want to do. They have the freedom. As long as kids are being successful, I don't care how they do it. Yeah. As long as kids are being successful. And so people like Jeremiah Wall and Candace Milner and sure. Michelle Pride, they thrive under this because they're like, hey, I get to do my job. And this is why I got into teaching to begin with. And a lot of it too is I have worked, sometimes it's as important to know how not to do it as it is to do it. Yes. And so I have worked for some principals who weren't real good. And so I'd sit back and I'd watch them. I'm pretty observant. And so I would sit back and watch these guys. When I was a teacher, when I was assistant principal, and even now a principal, I'd sit back and watch these guys and go, yeah, I wouldn't do it that way. And I just kind of... And I'll give you a prime example. When I was a teacher and a coach at Van Alstyne, I had an assistant principal. I never sent a kid to the office, ever. Yeah. If I sent a kid to the office, there was an issue. So I walked in my classroom one day, right after the bell rings, I was out in the hallway, walk in, and there's a kid in my class with a cigarette lighter lighting the hair of a kid in front of him. And I go, you out, okay? Personally, I mean, there you go. I mean, that's a no-brainer, right? Well, about 15 minutes later, the assistant principal brings that kid back to me to put him back in my class. And I went, oh, no. And I kind of lost it a little bit. If I send you a customer, I expect you to take care of it. Sure. And especially when I never hardly ever send you any. Right. And so that's a prime example of, that's one thing I put in the back of my mind and said, that's not going to work. That's not going to happen when I'm principal. So. Well,
and thankfully you learned those lessons, because I do feel like we have a pretty tightly run ship here. And going back to something you said, as your teacher, as a teacher that teaches under you, I can always appreciate that if I'm messing up, I know where I stand.
Yeah, it's pretty.
But I also, if I'm doing well, I also know where I stand. Yes. And so there's no smoke and mirrors or gray area. It's all very straightforward. Hey, get it fixed. And then your reputation preceded you, because I knew whenever I interviewed for this job that if I didn't do my job well, that I was going to get fired. Uh-huh. And so that's not always a bad reputation to have. No, it's not.
And at first, Travis, people, when they come here, especially when I got here at the very beginning, because I am so blunt and I am so honest, at first it takes people back. I mean, it really does, because they're like, man, I don't know about this cat. And then they start to see, and they start to figure it out how I am. And they at first they're really kind of nervous. They don't get it. And then as time goes on, they go, okay, there is no underlying message. There is no. It is what it is. Yeah. Okay. Then after a while, they get to where they like it. Yeah. Because there's no guessing. There is never a deal where you think, what does Southard want from me? Southard will tell you what he wants from you.
Well, yeah, silence doesn't mean a negative thing.
No, it does not.
That's the thing is silence doesn't mean, oh my gosh, I don't know if he doesn't like me. Silence means, hey, you're doing your job.
You're doing your job.
And so, thankfully, my wonderful wife has prepared me for your bluntness. I was well conditioned to being told exactly what's going on. But so this crisis hit us at a weird time because of transition with the superintendent.
Right.
And while we're on that subject, thank you to Mr. Gist for everything he's done and for the district. And we have, I don't want to say a void because we do have an acting superintendent, but has that superintendent transition made it more difficult during this time?
A little bit, because when we start talking about planning for next year, we start having the conversations about, hey, what are we going to do? And a lot of times it's, well, the new guy or girl or whoever needs to kind of be in on that and make that decision. So it does hurt us with as far as planning goes.
So it's more of a long range,
yes.
Okay.
And so I think that is in that instance, yes, I think it definitely hurts us.
Okay, and then on that same token, executive decisions that have gone on during this time, how did y'all on the district level come down with executive decisions?
It's a variety of different ways. So, there's been a ton of meetings as far as the Denton County superintendents go, meeting together and trying to come up with ways, like graduation, for example. That's one obvious, but also grading systems. That was a huge issue, and it still is a bit of an issue. But when you're talking about a high school versus a middle school, intermediate school, elementary school, this is not the same animal.
Yeah,
you're talking, yes, it is. It is not. They talked about at the very beginning. They said, okay, well, for middle schools and elementary, they all are talking. They say, well, we'll just do a pass-fail. And I go, I can't do a pass-fail. I can't put a P or an F on a transcript.
Colleges don't really like that.
They don't like that. And then the other question is, okay, what is a pass-fail? Is 70 pass and 69 fail? So that's what we're going to put on transcripts. And so, so my kids who make A's all the time, I start putting 70s on their transcripts. That's not going to go over well.
Right.
And so trying to get through all of that, and what was so frustrating, Travis, is it's like every time you ask a question, you didn't get an answer, you got 3 more questions, and it would just grow exponentially.
It's an iceberg.
It is, and so it was, and I got so frustrated because I'd have teachers asking me and parents asking me, and I'm like, I don't know. I've never been through this, and so again, you go back to try to be fair, try to use some common sense, and get through it. So that's.
Do you think you were as prepared as you could have been? I know that sounds crazy, but from having a kid here at the high school, at least he had a school-issued laptop. I mean, it seems like you were a little farther ahead than you have been.
What helped us was the fact that our kids have been using Canvas, and so they already were familiar with an online learning system. They already had that, so that helped that as far as if we didn't have that, holy cow, we'd been in a lot of trouble. So that made the transition smoother.
Do you see changes in the future that coming out of this? Is there going to be changes in the school to maybe?
I will tell you one that, if there is any kind of silver lining to all this, I do think it has forced our teachers to incorporate more technology. And I think it's made them go out on a limb a little bit more with technology and learning how to maybe incorporate more in their classroom when we do come back. But that's probably the best benefit, if there is a benefit to any of this.
Yeah.
That's probably the best.
And one thing I've noticed is the communication has actually seemed to increase, which is a good thing. Was that a campus decision, or
that was me saying you better be talking and talking to your kids and talking to parents?
Phone calls from you guys checking just on our welfare.
Yes. So what we did is I set up, and that's what I said the whole time starting out, is the communication is the key to getting through this. And so what I did is I set up a group of 10 people on this campus, and they would take a list of kids. Each of them had, about 40 kids or so, 45 kids or so. And they would just call them. And their job was to, and we started off every Wednesday, and then we kind of backed off a little bit. It was funny. I had I think it was Ann Smith who called somebody and said, she called them and she said, hey, I'm just checking. And they said, well, you've already done this. And Ann said, well, I know, but we're doing it again just to make sure you're good and everything. Well, you didn't really have to do that. Well, we're wanting to make sure you're good, you know. They're like, well, it's very nice, you know, but yeah, that was we set that up at the very beginning, and we've had, and I think that's helped. I think that's really helped because it allowed us to solve some problems too. You know, we'd have some folks that all of a sudden their internet would go down, and they've got a contact person now, somebody who they can actually really go to and know their number and get to them quickly. So that I think that may be one of probably the best things we've done in this whole situation.
I think so. I mean,
Yeah.
it's impressive that
Yeah.
whoever thought of it.
Yeah.
I'll credit you, but you can take credit. But it was a great idea.
Yeah, and I think it's helped. You know, and I think another positive about all this is I think the community. You know, I say it all the time that how great my teachers are, my staff is, but I really think. And I told them this at the very beginning of this. I said, hey, you're on the stage, guys, like you've never been before. They're going to see you. They're going to see how good you are. They're going to see how well you do. Just know that. And that's one of the things I'm a stickler for is when we do something in public, it better look sharp. And so anyway, I think people have really got an idea now of how good my staff is and what good, I mean, and I say all the time, they're good teachers, but they're even better people. And so I think people have really gotten an idea of what kind of folks we have working up here.
Well, and I say it all the time whenever people ask us about things athletically, is that I firmly believe that at Pilot Point High School, Pilot Point ISD, we have the best kids in the state of Texas. And I think when you go through a crisis like this, it magnifies everything, good or bad.
It does.
And I think what it's really done for me is it's magnified the great things about our kids. Yep. And then also it's magnified great things about our staff. And you know, whenever I interviewed, you told me how great the staff was. I'm thinking, well, of course, I'm in an interview talking to a guy for the first time about his school.
Right.
But as I've been here, what I've discovered is, man, we have a great staff.
Yeah.
Not only are they good teachers, but they're great people.
Yeah.
And I don't
they're
know.
Fun. They get along with each other.
I don't know any other school where you have a Mario Kart race around the halls with the teachers dressed up like idiots.
And me cheating.
Yeah, well, you were cheating. Don't accuse everyone else of cheating. You were the cheater. But you know, and it's fun. But the main goal isn't lost through the fun.
Right.
And then you know, and then you know, you and Miss Nimchek and the office staff are fantastic.
Yeah.
I don't know if you'll find a better. Man, I don't even know what her title would be, but a better whatever she is than Angie Price.
Right.
A better PEMS coordinator than Andy Clark. And who can, you know, Miss Ann in the front desk. Everybody is so awesome. Yeah. And they do such a good job.
Well, here's the deal. We're only going to be as good as the people we hire.
Yep.
If you want a better school, get better teachers, get better office staff, get a better principal, and that's where it is. 90% of this is personnel. You know, and going back to the original question about where I learned leadership and all that kind of stuff and how I studied. And I can't believe I forgot this. One huge influence was Herb Kelleher, who founded Southwest Airlines. Okay. And he believed in you take care of your people. Yeah. They in turn will treat the customers right. Yeah. That in turn will lead the customers to coming back to Southwest Airlines all the time, and that makes the stockholders happy, and they're making money. And so that's kind of how I've always tried to look at it is, hey, my job is to take care of my teachers, and in the end, they'll turn around, they're happy, they'll turn around and they'll take care of their kids. And then the parents and the board and everybody else will be happy as well. And so that's what I've always tried to do. Along
those same lines, if you have that trickle-down effect of taking care of people, in turn, the students will take care of you in the sense of you never bring up testing like it's going to cost us everything. No. Because you know that the students are going to take care of it because they're well prepared.
Right.
And you look at the Breakfast Club movies of the world and all that, where you look at a disgruntled high school teacher that acts like they don't want to be there, and that doesn't exist here. Right. And so therefore the bad kid doesn't exist here to the extent that others have. Now, I have one more question related to the COVID and Corona stuff, and I'm going to preface this by, I know you love your children, Cooper and Avery.
Sometimes.
So your answer is not going to throw in doubt the love of your children.
Right.
Would you rather be the principal of Pilot Point High School on the worst day or be the homeschool teacher of Cooper and Avery?
Oh, give me principal of high school. I'm going to tell you what, a little bit of Cooper Southard goes a long way.
I'm telling you.
He will wear you out. And then Avery isn't a whole lot better. So, yeah, my two kids, holy smokes.
So thank you, Jody, for the homeschooling.
Yes.
Okay. All right. All right. Well, that kind of wraps up this segment of questions about Corona. Oh, I'm sorry. We have one more.
How difficult was this week? This had to be the strangest last day of school ever, and you had just a few minutes to say goodbye.
I know.
I mean, normally you know all year when the day's going to end, and you kind of mentally get right with that.
Here's the thing about this whole situation, and I think everybody feels this way. You feel cheated. I mean, you really do. You feel cheated. And so, and Travis can attest to this, the very first day of school, I said flat out, we have the opportunity to have the best year we've ever had in this campus, ever, okay? And I mean, and our phrase this year was boom it. We were going to boom it, and boy, it has boomed, but not in the way we were wanting. But that seriously, I mean, I did, and I hammered them hard. I said, look, we know we're going to go deep in football, okay? We know our cross-country kids, they're going to be in running at state. I mean, they're always right there in the mix of it, okay? We knew band was going to go deep because of how they had done last year in their non-state year. They had done really well, so we knew they were going to make a little run of it, okay? We knew basketball was going to be solid because they went 3 or 4 deep last year, boys basketball. Knew softball was going to be stout because they're always stout. And we knew our ag kids were going to do something because they always do something, okay? So I said and then plus the other part of this too is, as a campus, we were setting as an 88. We were 2 points away from an A, and I had things lined up to where we were going to make an A. It was going to happen. And so all this starts off, right? Well, then we have stuff starting that we didn't expect do better than we were expecting. So for example, our ACT scores come out and they knocked it out of the park. 3 of the 5 areas were the highest they've ever been in the last 5 years. And the other 2 areas, one was off by 0.1, the other was off by 0.5. So they killed it. And so we're like, oh man, this is great, all right? Then, all the things start running like we thought they were going to run. Well, then the volleyball girls get in the playoffs. Hadn't done that forever. Then the basketball girls get in the playoffs. Hadn't done that forever. And we're thinking, holy smokes, we're killing it here, And then all of a sudden, but wham. It just stops.
March gets here.
And it just shuts it down. And so we're not going to get our A in accountability because our kids haven't taken the test. We don't know softball or ag kids everybody, golf, tennis. And so you feel like you just didn't get to exhausted. You feel like you got cheated, and we did. We were killing it. I mean, it was just everything was making a run. And so that's what's really frustrating to me about it all.
I want to interrupt the interview with Mr. Southard right quick to ask you a question. Do you subscribe to the Pilot Point Post-Signal? And if your answer was no, my question for you is why? We're 3 months away from football season, and there is no better newspaper coverage of the Pilot Point Bearcats than the Pilot Point Post-Signal. I mean, heck, they've been around since 1878, covering whatever sports there were in 1878, and they've been continuously covering sports up until today, and that's longer than even Pilot Point ISD has been around. And they're offering you a great opportunity right now to get their paper and also the digital copy for 2 months free. All you have to do is go to postsignal.com and sign up. And the great thing about getting that paper copy and that digital copy is Grandma can still cut out the images and laminate them for you for memories, and then you can read the digital copy on your phone and get it on the go while you're out and about. Right now, if you're a business owner or a family member, either one, and want to be a part of their graduation edition, they're running a ad, which will be a 2x5 that has 2 photos on it with the name of the graduate as well as the any business information that you want to attach to that ad, and that you can get that for $85. And the deadline to get that ad in would be on May 20th. So once again, if you're not a subscriber to the Post Signal, you just need to ask yourself why. And I know us listening all here into sports, and sports is really all we want to talk about, but there is no other opportunity to find out what's going on up there at City Hall. Nobody else covers it. If a larger newspaper is coming down to cover it, it's usually something bad that makes us all look like a bunch of crazy people. David does a great job and his staff of covering all the meetings, and heck, in this last edition, he even had an interesting article about the EDC, and it made it appear that something exciting was going on. And I can speak firsthand, I'm on the EDC and nothing exciting ever goes on. So consider subscribing to the Post Signal. I think you'll be glad that you did. And now we'll get back to the show. Thanks.
Thank you, Chance, for bringing up the Post Signal. It's always great to bring up the hometown newspaper and the support that they give the community and us. Now, while we're on that same note, let's talk about the Nutrition Den. Ken and Angela, you can find them up there on Highway 377 in between Ace Hardware and the old Stevens store. Now, the great thing about Ken and Angela, they're bringing these shakes and energy drinks and all the things that we really need in our life to make sure that we're healthy. But the best thing about it is they offer daily specials. Every day that they're open, there's a special. You can see it on screen. And with those specials, not only do you get a great deal, but you can also get a little bit of extra money off by posting to social media and telling them that Bearcat Insider sent you. Isn't that right, Chance?
That is correct. They want to know that people are listening to us, and if people are listening to us, people actually show up. And so it would do us a favor and them a favor. So they walk in and say, "Hey, Bearcat Insider sent me. I want to drink that Captain America." That's just like everybody's favorite assistant, Coach March, drinks.
There you go, the Captain America. I have to have one.
Sorry, yeah.
I have to have one almost every day. And like I said, it's way better than a Monster. It's way better than any of those drinks that you can get out of the cooler at the convenience store.
If they can have the energy you have, I think they need to go up there and get two.
Well, some
days
I need to with all these kids running around. But with that, Ken and Angela, thank you so much for supporting Bearcat Insider, and we're proud to support you and your business and everything that you're doing at Bearcat, the Nutrition Den. And so, with that being said, word from our sponsors, we're back to the interview with Mr. Southard. Now, we're going to find out a little about who is this guy. And so, Mr. Southard's here with us. And so, Mr. Southard, Todd, if you will, where did you grow up? Where did you graduate from?
Blowing off on this information out. So I graduated from Whitesboro High School in 1993.
Okay.
And I lived there all my life.
Okay.
My dad was a Dallas fireman.
Okay.
And so he would, he worked every third day. And so anyway, he would drive to his station was far north Dallas.
Okay.
And so we lived there all my life. And then when I left there, I went to Grayson County College for a couple years and transferred up to Southeastern Oklahoma State University.
Okay.
And I got my bachelor's degree in English in the fall of '97. And, and graduating in the fall is kind of tough for a teacher. There's not a whole lot out there. That's really bad timing. So I ended up getting an English teaching position at Terrell High School. Was
Jamie Foxx at
No, Jamie Foxx had actually graduated a few years. I don't think he was quite famous yet.
Okay, and so for those of you who don't know that are listening, Jamie Foxx, the one that you're saying, that Jamie Foxx, yes, that Jamie Foxx was I do believe he was an all-state quarterback there at Terrell, and so Mr. Southard has connections to celebrities all over the place.
That's right. That's right. So anyway, I was there. I was there for a semester, and Terrell just wasn't my kind of place. And let's just leave it at that. Okay. And so I will tell a couple stories though. So constant fights break out all the time. Yep. It was combat hazard pay kind of job. And they'd set all the trash cans on fire one day in the building. I mean, you couldn't keep a stapler because they would steal the stapler off your desk and they'd use it to hit each other during fights.
Oh Lord.
Okay. So I was there for about 3 weeks.
So it's a lot like Pilot Point.
Yeah, it's exactly like Pilot Point. Yeah. So I was there for about 3 weeks, and I walked into my principal's office and I said, "Hey, I'm not going to be coming back next year to this." And he goes, "What? Really?" I went, "Yeah, really? Yeah, I'm not coming back to this." Yeah. And so I finished out my tour of duty there, and then I got a job at Gunner. As an English teacher and a girls coach.
Man, you are striking out being from Whitesboro, coaching at Gunner.
Yes.
This is not looking good.
No. And so
you already mentioned Van Alstyne.
Yeah.
Oh,
and
Lord.
So anyway, I will never forget this. At that time, Gunner High School was just one long hallway, and there was hooks all down the side. And so I was walking the hallway with the principal, and I said, "Miss Banner," I said, "what are all these hooks for?" And she goes, "Well, kids just come in and put their stuff on there and, go into class." I said, "They don't steal their stuff?" And she goes, "No." I said, "Well, in Terrell, they'd steal the hooks, And so I was there for 2 years, and then I left Gunner, and I went to Van Alstyne.
Okay.
And same deal, taught freshman English, was a girls coach, coached volleyball, basketball, softball, and did that for 5 years. And I really liked Van Alstyne. I really enjoyed Van Alstyne. And got to a point that I was ready to get in administration, and I left there and went to Anna. And I was a high school assistant principal for 2 years. And then they made me middle school principal, and I was a middle school principal for 6 years.
Okay.
And so I had a school that hadn't been doing really well, and we got it turned around to go in the right direction. And so Jody was pregnant with Avery, and I told my folks, I said, hey, listen, I'm going to be gone for a couple weeks. I'm going to take a little extra time off. I said, just letting you know. And so I said, y'all got it. So took about a week and a half off, came back to school, and there's not an email, there's not anything on my desk, there's not a phone call, nothing. And I went, these people don't need me. And so they really don't need me.
Your job was done.
Yeah, my job was done. And I honestly, I got bored.
Yeah.
I got bored. And so I was like, because I like projects. That's one thing about me. And I guess it's the coach in me.
Yeah.
I like building things. I really do. And so I got to the point, I'm like, I'm getting bored. They don't need me anymore. I need to go do something else. And so I started interviewing for jobs, or applying for jobs. Yeah. And not getting many interviews at all. And I didn't want to be a high school principal. I thought it was too hard of a job, and I just wasn't interested in it. And Anna, they had asked me a couple times to be high school principal there, and I wouldn't do it. And so anyway, I started applying for jobs, getting some interviews, not many at all. And so finally I came home one night, I was just so frustrated. And I told Jody, I said, listen, if I'm going to get to move up to central office or a superintendent's job, I said, then we need to go where there's not much competition. It'll give me a better chance at it. It's a numbers game. And she said, okay, where do we go with that? And I said, well, West Texas, of course. And so anyway, I started applying for jobs, and I got a job out at this little school district called Silverton.
Okay.
Literally out in the middle of nowhere. 180 kids in the whole district. Silverton is the county seat of Briscoe County. There's only 1,400 people who live in the entire county. Okay. And it was an hour to the closest grocery store. And it was in a 1927 building that was literally falling apart. I walked in there, and as superintendent of schools, my desk, the middle drawer was out, so I could get my legs underneath it, and the legs were 2 haydock blocks. And I was there for about 6 months, and I said, this is not my kind of place. Yeah. So it was a struggle. Anything you try to do, it was just a struggle. And so I said, I don't like this. I'm not happy here. And so this job in Pop Point came open. Yeah. And I snagged it. Unfortunately, I got it. Yep. And so
so they say the rest is history.
The rest is history. Yes.
And so I know from previous conversations with you, there was a English teacher at Whitesboro High School that had a huge effect on you.
Yes. Yes.
Would you, and you can give a little backstory, would he be one of the factors that made you choose education?
He's probably the factor that made me choose education, so everybody can blame him.
Okay.
His name is Chuck Ladd, and he was actually, he's Michael Keith's. He was Michael Keith's English teacher as well.
Well, and shameless plug for Michael Keith. Michael Keith is a fantastic English teacher, and
yes.
So you're in good company.
Yes. But Chuck Ladd, he was my junior English teacher, and he, in my opinion, is the coolest cat who ever walked this face of this earth. Yeah. I mean, Chuck Ladd is just an unbelievable teacher, and I would go into his class for whatever reason, and I've always been like this. I cannot add 2 and 2. I am terrible at it. Okay, I can write you a heck of an essay. Yeah. I mean, I can blow it out of the water, but I can't add to save my life. And I loved his class. Yeah, absolutely loved it. And so, I thought, you know what, it'd be pretty cool to be Chuck Ladd. Yeah. And so that's where it really started. I was thinking about going and being a journalist because I enjoy writing and that sort of stuff. But when I had his English class, that's when I went, all right, this is what I want to do.
Now, junior year, is that a composition or is that literature?
It's more. It's American Lit is what it is. Lit. But he had a lot of writing though.
If you look back on Chuck Ladd's class, do you remember what books y'all were reading or anything like that from that?
I don't remember.
Or do you
really
just remember
exactly.
Chuck Ladd?
I just remember Chuck Ladd. It's like, as I've gotten older, I've forgotten more. But it's like your kindergarten teacher that you love, that you see. You don't know what she taught you, but you just know you love her. Right? You can't remember why. You don't remember what she did, but you just know you love her.
Yeah.
And it's a little bit like that with Chuck now, because we're talking. This has been years ago, but he was just. I don't know. He paid attention. I guess he saw the potential in me. And he's just, and so when Michael Keith's resume came across my desk, okay, I see that he had Chuck Ladd as a teacher, okay. Then I see that he was a student teacher under Chuck Ladd, and I go, Michael Keith's my man.
Well, because you know where he came from.
I know where he came from.
That's verified almost, yeah.
And he is a tough English teacher. He is. And so was Chuck Ladd. And so was I. It's just you teach them. And so, he is. He's Chuck Ladd's the coolest cat ever.
Well, that's awesome. It's always fun to hear stories about the people that influenced people, because you can see the. I don't know exactly what you can see the path that it took to get there. Especially if I knew Chuck Ladd, I'm sure there were mannerisms or things that you say or whatever that you're like, you just straight pirated that from Chuck Ladd. So that's awesome. Now we know where all of you've worked and things like that, and we won't hold that against you. But what do you enjoy about Pilot Point? And this is not just a high school district question. This is a broad question, and I know you're extremely involved in the Southern basketball dynasty.
Yes.
Which
they didn't hardly win any games last year.
The Mavericks missed the playoffs.
Yes.
And they had 18 straight years or whatever. So
it happens.
It happens.
It happens.
But
it happens.
So you enjoy the community. You're great for the kids here that have been on Team Southard and things like that. But what do you enjoy about Pilot Point?
I don't know if there's not something I don't like about Pilot Point. Because you look at it, okay, where are you going to find a better place to raise a kid at? You can't.
Having kids all over the state of Texas, I will tell you, there's a reason why I'm happy to be a resident of Pilot Point.
I can't. Okay, you take for example Cooper in his class, Michael's in, right? Yeah. That's a great group of kids. They're a fantastic group of kids. Yeah. So why wouldn't you want your son in that group right there and make sure he stays the whole way through? Yeah. Because they're positive kids, good parents. Just I love them to death. They're just great kids. Yeah. So it's a good environment. It's a positive environment. It's good people. Yeah. There's a sense of duty, I guess you would say, to help everyone around here. It's an expectation. It really is. It really is a place where, you know what, you help each other out. Right. And I'll be honest with you, my first thing that I saw here, when I first got here, I went to the athletic banquet that, before, or not banquet, but the fundraiser before the year starts, right? The
Booster Club fundraiser thing.
Fundraiser deal, right. And so there wasn't, there were some things there. There wasn't a whole lot I didn't think, but, they raised like 30, 35 grand. And I went home and I told Jody, I said, these people are crazy. I said, there wasn't that much stuff there. There's 30, 35 grand. I said, these people are nuts. I said, they're going to be wanting things all the time from us. They're going to be, it's not like that at all. Yeah. It's not like that at all. And, and then you sit there and you go, okay, well, they'll raise 30 grand at the Educational Foundation Gala. Yeah. They'll raise 30 grand at the FFA. So you're looking at easily, and that doesn't even count all the shirts, caps, cups, everything else everybody buys. You're talking easily $100,000 from a community of 5,000 people going towards these kids every year.
Well, and it's one of the most t-shirtingest places I've ever been in my life.
It's wonderful, but I have never been in a district, and this is my 6th district. Right. I have never seen a district where the community is as supportive of the school as it is here. It's unreal, and people who have lived here all their lives, they don't understand that. They don't know any different, which is great.
Yeah.
But they don't know any different. But you go to some of these other places I've been, absolutely not. That wouldn't happen in a million years.
No, and it's not just on Friday nights.
No.
I mean, it's everything we do. It's FFA. If Michael has to sell chocolate,
Right.
I can usually go ask a neighbor and they'll just buy the whole box.
Right.
And I'm like, guys, you don't have to do that. They're like, no, we want to.
When we had our strategic planning going on last year, and I made this comment, and it's true. If I put out on Facebook, hey, I need $1,000 for a kid for something, whatever. Yeah. Within 30 minutes, I would have at least 3 phone calls. I would have probably a couple of emails, and probably someone just show up.
Yeah, somebody at your door.
Just going, hey, Todd, what do you want me to do? Here's this check.
Yep.
I mean, just like that. And there wouldn't even be any questions about it. And so that kind of stuff right there, to me, also location to family. A lot of my parents live at Robeson Ranch. Jody's dad is in Argyle. Her mom's in Sherman. Everybody we know really is within a 45-minute drive of here.
You make the joke all the time about if you threw a rock from anywhere you're standing, you might hit kinfolk.
Yes.
And whenever I sat down in my interview with you, all of a sudden we find out that I've taught your kinfolk, I've worked with your kinfolk, and they're all over. And so, unfortunately,
and their last name's not Southard.
No, and unfortunately for you, that doesn't stop people from talking bad about you. And it's really bad whenever your kinfolk chime in, like, I know that guy.
I know.
But so it's cool. It's a great area.
It is, and it's so funny because when we first moved here, here's a funny story. So when we got this job, okay, so my great grandmother was a raiser, okay, and if you actually go out to New Hope Cemetery out in Mountain Springs, okay, my great grandfather is buried out there. Okay. Andrew Jackson Razor is his name. Okay. And so it's really kind of cool. I mean, it really is to go back and look at this stuff. And I need to spend some more time out there. But anyway, so when I got the job, my dad calls me and goes, hey, your roots in Pilot Point in that area probably are a little bit deeper than what you realize. And I'm like, yeah, whatever. Okay, Daddy. Yeah. So anyway, we had our veterans breakfast that we do every year up here, okay? And this was my first year to do this. And so I'm in there, and this older gentleman's there, and he asked me, he goes, hey, are you the principal of high school? And I said, yes, sir. And he goes, well, I know your grandfather. Well, my grandfather died in 1977, okay? And so another guy walks up to me and goes, hey, are you the principal? And I said, yes, sir. And he takes his pants leg and pulls him up, puts his leg up on the desk and everything, and he goes, you see that scar? And I said, yes. He goes, Clifford Southard ran over my ass in 1963 in the middle of a football game. And I looked at him and I go, I'm sorry? I mean, what do you answer? What's your answer on that?
What do you want me to say here?
And so, it's been, and Jody would come home and she'd go, well, I met another one of your cousins today. And these are people I don't even know.
Right.
And so it's been pretty interesting. And it's kind of weird because you'd meet somebody and a lot of people, I may not be related to them, but they may be the other side of the family. So, for example, like one of my cousins marries one of their cousins or something like that, right?
The web.
Yes, and they they just know the name. And so I'm sitting in here, my first day in service, and this lady comes up to me, have no clue who this woman is. Yeah. She goes, "Hi, Todd." I went, "Hi, how are you?
Hey.
How are you?"
Yeah.
And she goes, "You don't remember me?" I said, "No." She goes, "I've known you since you were 5 years old." And I went, I don't know who you are. Yeah. And it was Janet Freer. Okay. And so, but her aunt married my uncle, and so, it's just stuff like that. Sometimes it's a little frightening. I mean, sometimes it's a little bit weird, scary. To be honest with you.
Start looking over your shoulder a little bit.
But it's been interesting. So, I've always felt like that we've kind of just fit in.
Yeah.
And I guess that's the other part of it about Pilot Point. I've never felt treated any differently or weird or anything like that, or neither has Jody. And, we just always, it's home. I mean, to us, it's just home.
Well, and, from experience with you and me personally, having kids in the same grades and everything like that, how much do you worry about Cooper walking down the street to my house?
I don't.
You don't.
I don't.
Because we live in a great place, and especially in a great neighborhood, but a great city where, when Michael says, "Hey, I'm going to go down to Cooper's house," I don't think twice about it. Yeah. And that's great. It's great as a parent, and to know the quality of people around that
Well, and and I've always told, and it's funny, Cooper's getting the age, he's starting to realize some things, and he said, this is a couple years ago, he said, he goes, Daddy, why does everybody kind of know who I am? And I said, well, number one, your last name's Southard. Number two, you got red hair. And number three, you're related to half the town.
Yeah.
So you're not going to get away with crap, so don't even try.
Right.
I mean, they're going to nail you every time. I'm going to find out about it. So
I don't know that Avery cares about getting away with it. He just wants to do it.
Yes. Avery's a straight running turd.
Yes. Yes, he is. But he's a likable one.
He's a likable turd, but he's a turd.
All right, now, Chance, you have any questions here for Mr. Southard?
Just real quick, that the convenience store, right, when you pull out of your housing condition, was called Razor's when I was a child.
Really?
It was Razor's grocery store.
Really?
I wonder if there's some relation there.
Has to be.
I couldn't imagine it being.
But that was where I would bike and spend my little allowance and get a Dr. Pepper.
Yeah.
It was at Razor's grocery store.
Since you're old, how much did you pay for that Dr. Pepper at Razor's?
I really don't remember. I know at Canteen in junior high at the G school, Cokes were 35 cents in the Coke machine. I do remember that.
If Dr. Pepper was 35 cents, I would be a happy man.
I bet you would.
All right.
I do have a question, though. You said you were a problem solver by nature and you want to fix things, and I don't want to put you on the spot, but what's on top of the pile when you look at the school?
At the high school?
Before COVID. What was your targets of what you wanted to get fixed?
One of the things that we were going to work on is trying to get more certifications for our kids. That's something that's big now. And so we struggle with that because of our size. So there's certain things that the state says, and it goes back to accountability. And there's certain certifications that kids can get that helps with our accountability. And it's not just that too. I mean, we need to try to work towards it as well. Okay, so it is twofold to go. The problem with that is a lot of the stuff that they can get certifications in, we can't offer because of our size. So, for example, paint and body, automotive type of stuff, construction type of stuff, we struggle with that. And used to be a solution to that was going up to Denton ATC. However, as Denton has grown, they have pushed everybody out of that thing. Yeah. Whereas we used to get kids in there all the time, and this has really happened the last 3 or 4 years, you can't get anybody in there anymore. And so it's kind of left us a little bit in a lurch. I mean, we're trying to figure all that out. So I would say that is the biggest thing on my burner right now as far as this high school goes.
Gotcha. Yeah. That's all I had.
Okay. All right, so the last segment that we're going to do here with Mr. Southard is a fun segment.
All right.
As fun as we can.
Okay.
Okay. So what was your first car? I know my first car was the truck that my dad currently drives, the Red Devil, which was a 95 Toyota truck that has 430,000 miles on it, and you still see it around town. So what was your first car, Mr. Southard?
My first car was a 1982 Volkswagen pickup.
Sweet.
You have never seen anything uglier in your life, okay? And so this thing is what my dad drove back and forth to the station. It had at least 300,000 miles on it. It was a little diesel, and it had at least 300,000 miles on it. He had wrecked it when he hadn't had it that long. He wrecked it, and he took it to a guy in Gainesville who really didn't do that good of a job on it because my dad's cheap. And so anyway,
which by the way is a Southern trait.
Yeah, especially Alan Southard, but we won't get to that one. So anyway, so when you're going down the road in the dark, if you had them on bright, the lights would shine into the ditch. And if you had them on dim, they would shine into the opposing lane. And so you never had an idea of what was coming straight on ahead of you. Okay?
Man.
So that was what you want to give the guy you're meeting, lights in his face.
Yes, I know. I mean, yeah. That's the only choices you had that truck. You had nothing, you had no vision in front of you whatsoever, which is really not a good plan, to be honest with you.
Not for your 16-year-old driver.
Yes, to me that would be a safety issue, but my dad didn't see it as that way. And so anyway, and so it also was faded out, diesel, smoked. I mean, it was something. It was a ride, boy. And so, and what was so funny is I drove it for a while, and then he got me a used Mustang, which wasn't a bad little ride. But anyway, he would take my sister to school in it. And she would make him stop about 2 blocks away from the school and let her out so she'd walk the rest of the way to school.
Okay.
And so, I mean, it was that bad.
That's awesome.
And it's not like we didn't have the money to get something better. Yeah. He wouldn't want to spend money. Yeah. And so it was something.
What was the ultimate end for the Volkswagen truck?
I don't know what happened to that thing in the end. He eventually sold it to somebody. And what is so funny now, after all these years, occasionally I will get a text message from a friend who will find one somewhere and take a picture and send it to me.
That's great.
Because everybody remembers it. It was hideous. It was absolutely hideous.
Chance, what was your first car?
It was a wrecked RX-7 that my dad bought at a salvage yard with a bent frame.
Okay.
And the first time I ever drove it, it wouldn't drive straight, and I literally had it for a week or two.
Okay.
And that was the end of it.
Well, that was a buzzkill.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it wasn't an exciting. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Now, with this whole stay-at-home order, things like that, I'm assuming that you've watched a movie or two. Well, and if you
I have watched a movie or two.
What's your favorite movie in general, and what's the best movie you've seen during this stay-at-home order?
So my favorite movie is Shawshank Redemption.
Oh,
Great movie.
That made my list 3 episodes ago.
That is just a great movie, and there's a lot of movies I really do enjoy. Anything Clint Eastwood, I love. I love Good, Bad, and the Ugly. I love Gran Torino.
Yeah.
I mean, Clint Eastwood doesn't make a bad movie.
No.
And so, I love Field of Dreams. I love Forrest Gump. There's a lot of them I really enjoy.
Okay.
But I'd say Shawshank Redemption is my favorite. The best movie I've seen since all this is going on is Parkland. And it is about the JFK assassination, and it is about most of it is set at Parkland Hospital.
Yes.
And it is excellent, I thought. I thought it was really interesting. And so
somebody else mentioned it, and so I probably should go watch it.
Yeah, it's on Amazon, and
okay.
I got it off Amazon Prime, and it is really good.
Okay.
I really enjoyed that.
Well, that sounds like a must-watch for sure. Now, we brought up Team Southard and the Team Southard basketball dynasty. I'm sitting
Which is
here.
over with, by the way.
Well, you're just moving on to Avery if you can wrestle him away from Zach. And I'm sitting here and I'm looking at your computer behind you, and it scrolls through, and there's pictures of all the kids, and I know you love those kids, and I use the word love in the very sense of the word love.
Yeah.
Most of those kids have been with you for 3 or 4 years, and
A lot of them with me for 5.
Yeah,
I had those boys for a long time.
And so, you were a basketball coach.
Mm-hmm.
So if you had to challenge any coach on the Pilot Point staff to a one-on-one game basketball, who would you challenge?
Oh, Allen.
Allen.
He's a basketball coach.
Allen.
I'll tell you right now, you can just look at him and tell he can't shoot.
So would you?
Can tell he can't shoot.
What would your approach? Would you take Allen to the rack, or would you use your outside shooting to pull him away? And there has to be some strategy. I know you don't go into anything without a strategy, so I know there's a strategy.
I'm thinking with Allen, I think you would draw him out because I don't think he can move. So I think you would draw him out around the elbow or so, and just power right by him.
Okay.
And and I don't want to embarrass Allen too bad on this
hear
thing, but he's terrible. I bet.
If you could
an opportunity for a charity event.
He's going to listen to this, and
if you could compare your game to an NBA legend.
An NBA legend.
I mean, are you Michael Jordan? Are you Magic Johnson? Are you Bill Laimbeer? I mean, who are you, Mr. Southard?
I will tell you, I was a Laimbeer fan.
Well, of course you were.
Because I like people who will push the envelope to do whatever you can do and play hard to win.
Okay.
Now, I will say Laimbeer was dirty at times. I know he would slip his foot underneath someone jumping up and try to let him land and twist their ankle.
Maybe cheat in a game of Faculty Mario Kart?
I would definitely. Yeah, I did.
Okay. so Bill Laimbeer.
Bill Laimbeer.
Okay. All right. Well, that.
Hey, it's all about winning, baby.
Just win.
Get a W.
That's it.
W. I remember what I said earlier. I don't care how kids are successful.
Yeah, they just got to be. So you're the Bill Laimbeer of high school principals.
I guess so. Yes.
Okay. Well, that.
As sad as that may be.
Not bad. Not bad. I'm sure people have called you worse.
Yes, they have.
Okay.
Yes, they have.
Well, Mr. Southard, thank you so much for your time and letting us have the opportunity to come in and visit with you. I hope that the 4 people that will listen to this, 5
where we existed.
Okay. So the 5 people that will listen, I hope they understand the great leadership that you provide the campus, and then also the interesting person that you are whenever you pull back the facade that exists of being the guy in charge. Right. That man, you're one of us from up here in North Texas.
King, I think is what
he is. the Bearcat King.
Bearcat King, yes.
Could we call him Todd Exotic? All right. Well, thank you so much for your time. This is Travis Marsh and Chance Kirby with Bearcat Insider, and we'll catch you next time. All right, this is Travis Marsh with Bearcat Insider, and we just finished up with Mr. Southard. And while we were leaving the building, we're live from the field house with a response from one coach, Nathan Alling. I've informed Nathan or Coach Alling of Mr. Southard's comments that he would, choose to play Coach Alling one-on-one and the various comments that Mr. Southard made. And so, Coach Alling, given the nature of the comments that Mr. Southard made and, basically calling you out, what's your response?
Hey, all I need is two things. I need a time for when to be there and a place for me to show up, and that'll be it.
Okay, so whenever, you hear Mr. Southard talking, what's your response to him just talking?
Well, I mean, that's his opinion, but if he wants to talk about it, that's fine. I don't really have much to say because I'd rather just show up and play.
All right, well, thank you, Coach Alling. And Mr. Southard, looks like you're up.
Wow, Coach Marsh, I'm really impressed. I felt like I just listened to something on 60 Minutes or something. I didn't realize that you were such an awesome interviewer. And then the controversy there at the end. I think there's a possibility of a PilotPointBearcats.com charity challenge of some sort in our future.
Well, I mean, I agree. And if Coach Alling won't take on Mr. Southard, I'll break a leg for a good cause.
There you go.
But no, it really was good. It really went better than I could have ever expected. And a lot of that has to do with Mr. Southard and the fact that he's willing to spill the beans, kind of. I felt like he gave us some privileged information that we didn't necessarily have to have, and I really appreciate him doing that. And I think that's just a testimony and hallmark to his leadership and his ability to lead and kind of give the people what they want, which is answers.
Yeah, I didn't know him, to be honest with you, before this interview, and didn't know anything about him. Now I do feel like I know him, and it was interesting to hear about the inner workings of what went on with the school, with the superintendent transition, and how they dealt with this COVID crisis.
Absolutely. So now the next time you see a Volkswagen truck, you're going to think about him.
Yeah.
And then the next time you watch Tiger King, all you're going to think about is Todd Exotic, the Bearcat King.
Todd Exotic, yes.
And so, if I get fired, it's probably because of calling him Todd Exotic.
Yeah.
But that's okay. It's worth it.
It would
it's
look
not worth
good
getting fired.
When you apply to the next job and they say, okay, tell us what happened at the last one. And
I called my principal Todd Exotic, and he gave me my walk-in papers.
There you go.
But no, it really was. It was great to sit down with him, and we look forward to our next victim, whoever that might be. And then also things you can kind of keep your eye on is, we're still working on the Bearcat film project. We have 2 games up, and we're just always trying to accumulate more of that. And then, hopefully more interviews coming down the pike. And as soon as maybe this coronavirus thing will lax up, maybe we can get our PilotPointBearcats.com Madden tournament or 2K tournament on.
Yeah, and then I've got a few things going on. One, the UIL actually did speak. Next podcast, I'll bring what I have. They spoke, but they didn't say a lot, let's say.
Yeah.
And
coach
then,
speak, then.
Correct.
They're good at coach speak.
Yes. And then number 2, I have a plan for what I'm going to call Bearcat Theater.
Okay.
That's in work in progress.
Sure.
But we're going to sit down and watch, speaking of game film, that Garrison State game. Me, you, and hopefully Greg Pelzel and a few other people if we can find. I'm going to put mics on all of us, and we're all going to watch that game together. You're going to speak from a coaching aspect.
Well,
I'm going to speak from a fan. And
I'll speak whenever Greg's not.
Correct. And then Greg, and he's going to tell us what it was to play in it. And we're going to ask him a lot of tough questions.
That'll be awesome.
And then finally in the next show, a huge Twitter controversy broke out yesterday that you may or not be aware of. And we're going to get to the bottom of it. And I'm just going to end it with the question, are the Pilot Point Bearcats switching to all black uniforms next fall?
Well, that sounds like controversy.
It is, and it was.
Well, perfect. Well, until next time, this is Bearcat Insider. We sure appreciate you taking the time to listen to a whole hour of this, and we look forward to catching you on the flip side.
Go Bearcats.
Ho, ho, ho.